For a long time, visiting Morocco has been super easy for Europeans. No interviews, no tough questions, no waiting. Just land, get your passport stamped, smile at the officer, and boom, you're off to explore the busy streets of Marrakech or chill on the sunny shores of Agadir. But if you're Moroccan and dreaming of seeing Paris, Rome, or Barcelona, whole different story. First, there's a mountain of paperwork. Then come the long lines, the endless waiting, and the chance you'll be turned down, no matter how well you prepare. And that rejection doesn't just stop a trip. It stings. It's personal. Like the system is telling you, you're not welcome. In just 1 year, people from Africa lost more than 56 million euros. Not on flights or hotels, but on applying for visas that were never approved. That's money gone for nothing. Now there's a new twist. Morocco is thinking, wait a minute, why should this be one-sided? And for the first time, the idea is on the table. What if European visitors had to apply for visas too? Suddenly the tables are turning. Some people are clapping, others are freaking out, and plenty are watching quietly, unsure what this means. But make no mistake, this isn't just about paperwork, it's about fairness. It's about who gets to move around the world freely and who doesn't. And Morocco isn't the only one paying attention. Other African countries are already thinking, should we do the same? Europe is now facing something new, something it's not used to. The idea that it doesn't always get to make the rules. So what's pushing Morocco to take this step? Let's break it down. For years, visas have been more than just stamps in a passport. They've been like secret doors. Doors that swing wide open for some and slam shut for others. If you're from Europe, the world often says, come on in. If you're from Africa, it's more like, prove you deserve it. That kind of system doesn't just feel unfair, it's built that way. And now, Morocco is calling it out. Not with loud speeches, but with action. A bold move that says, we're done playing by rules that weren't made for us. To really get what's going on here, you've got to zoom out a bit. This isn't just about travel plans, paperwork, or who gets to go where for vacation. It's about something way bigger. Who's been calling the shots for years, and who's finally saying, enough. Let's rewind for a second. If you're European and want to visit Africa, no big deal. Hop on a flight, show your passport, maybe smile at the border officer, and you're in. No interviews, no complicated forms, no digging through files for old bank statements. Just smooth sailing from the airport to the beach. But flip the situation around. Say you're Moroccan, and you dream of walking the streets of Paris or grabbing gelato in Rome. Suddenly, it's like you're climbing a wall made of red tape. You've got to prove you have money, show where you work, explain why you're going, where you'll stay, and when you're coming back. And even then, after spending your hard-earned money on the application, they can still say no. No refund, no reason, just denied. And here's the kicker. This happens all the time. In just 1 year, people across Africa lost about 56 million euros. Not on trips, not on sightseeing, just on visa applications that were never approved. That's like buying thousands of plane tickets and then being told you're not allowed to board. Meanwhile, European tourists keep coming to Africa with barely a speed bump in their way. They explore markets, snap sunset selfies, and head back home without ever feeling that door slammed in their face. This kind of one-sided setup has been going on so long, it started to feel normal, at least for those benefiting from it. But now, Morocco's saying, let's shake things up. For the first time, they're putting visa rules on the table. For Europeans, it's a huge deal. Suddenly, that easy-breezy travel experience might not be so easy anymore. Some travellers may have to fill out forms, explain their plans, and yes, maybe even get rejected. And that changes everything. Reactions. Oh, they came fast. Some European travellers are frustrated, others are confused. A few tourism experts are already worried this could scare visitors away and hit Morocco's tourism income hard. But if you listen closely, there's something else behind all this fuss. This isn't just about vacations or border stamps. It's about who gets to decide the rules. For a really long time, Europe got to decide who gets to travel and who doesn't. It was like they had the master key to every door, and they weren't sharing. If you were from Europe, the world was wide open. You could book a flight, show your passport, and breeze right through most borders. But if you were from Africa, it was a different story. Getting into Europe meant jumping through hoops, tons of paperwork, long lines, high fees. And even after all that, there was still a good chance you'd be told no. That's been the reality for years. Europe making the rules, and Africa playing by them. But now something is changing. What if African countries flipped the script? What if they said to Europe, you want to visit? Okay, but you've got to apply for a visa too. That idea is picking up speed. Morocco is seriously considering it. Namibia already has. Senegal's thinking about it. And suddenly the game feels different. If Morocco moves forward and others follow, Europe might have to face something it's not used to, being treated the same way it has treated others. This isn't just about airport security or passport stamps. This is about fairness, about levelling the field. Right now, European travellers can visit Morocco with ease, but Moroccan travellers trying to visit Europe, many don't even get the chance. In just 1 year, over 150,000 Moroccans had their visa applications rejected. And it's not just vacationers being turned away. Students hoping to study, patients needing medical care, and families wanting to reunite are all stuck behind the same wall of red tape. That's the message Morocco is pushing back against. The message that says, you're not welcome. Now Morocco is ready to answer with its own message. If you make us go through it, you'll go through it too. Not everyone is happy about it. Some worry that tourism could take a hit, and that Morocco's economy might suffer if fewer Europeans visit. But others say this is about something bigger than money, something you can't measure in currency. And the ripple effect, it's already spreading. If you are still watching this video, it means you love it. Why not take out a second and hit that like button? Have you done that? Let us move on. Travel might seem like it's just about planes, passports, and vacations, but behind the scenes, it's way more than that. It's about who gets a green light and who gets a giant red stop sign. Every time someone crosses a border, there's an invisible message being sent. Who's in charge here? Who gets to move freely? Who has to ask for permission? For a long time, Europe had the upper hand. They decided who could come in, who had to wait, and who never even stood a chance. It was like they were the gatekeepers of the world, and they liked it that way. But now, Morocco's stepping in with a whole new idea. What if European travellers had to go through the same process that Africans have been dealing with for years? What if they had to fill out forms, pay fees, and cross their fingers hoping they get approved? That's exactly what Morocco is thinking. And it's turning heads. See, a visa isn't just a little sticker in your passport. It's a sign. It says, we trust you, or we don't. It's like a secret handshake, or a slammed door. When a country lets you in without a visa, it's basically saying, we're cool with you. But when it puts up rules, checks, and paperwork, it's saying, hang on, not so fast. Europe's been handing out those roadblocks for a long time, especially to African countries. Meanwhile, European travellers got to walk into African nations like VIP guests. Now Morocco's saying, why should that be okay? If you've ever felt like one team had all the advantages and the other had to play by extra rules, that's exactly what's happening here. Only now the teams are switching sides, and that's making a lot of people in Europe nervous, because they're not used to being on the receiving end of restrictions. What Morocco is suggesting isn't just about travel, it's about flipping the power switch. Visas might seem like boring travel stuff, just some forms and stamps, but they've actually been used like hidden levers of power. If a country plays nice with Europe, the doors swing open. If it pushes back, suddenly getting a visa feels like trying to crack a secret code. It's not just about safety or paperwork, it's about who's on Europe's nice list and who isn't. Just look at how African countries are treated differently. Travellers from places like South Africa often get their visas approved without too much trouble. But people from Nigeria, their chances are way lower, even if they follow all the rules. This isn't random, it's done on purpose, based on politics, money, and how much Europe thinks it can benefit. Europe's been pretty picky about who they let in, making sure only those they see as safe or useful get through the gates. And while that's been happening, European travellers have been flying into African countries like it's no big deal. No extra hoops, no stress, just landing, lounging, sightseeing, and heading back home. All without ever thinking twice about how easy it was for them. But now things might be about to change. Morocco is thinking of flipping the script. If Europeans want to visit, they may have to deal with the same slow, complicated visa process that African travellers have faced for years. And this isn't just some random timing. Africa is starting to speak up more. It's getting stronger on the world stage and isn't as willing to play by old rules made by other people. Countries are starting to say, if you want us to respect your process, then you've got to respect ours too. There's also something else going on, how Africa is seen by the rest of the world. For a long time, the story Europe told was that Africa needed help, needed saving, needed approval. But now imagine Africa saying, actually, we've got standards too. And if you want in, you'll need to meet them. That changes everything. This whole visa idea isn't just about airport lines or travel documents. It's about control. It's about who gets to set the rules from now on. Sure, European leaders might not love the idea. Some will say this could hurt Morocco's income from tourism. Others might warn that making travel harder for Europeans could scare them away. But that kind of thinking misses the bigger picture, because for a long time, African countries have been told to protect European interests first, even when it came at the cost of their own pride and independence. Now, Morocco's saying that's not good enough anymore. For a long time, Europe acted like the boss when it came to travel rules. They made the decisions and African countries were expected to just go along with it. No questions asked. But now, Morocco is stepping up and saying, hold on, things don't have to stay this way. Even though the plan hasn't been officially rolled out yet, just talking about it has people paying attention. It's a loud message in a quiet way. Maybe the days of one-sided travel rules are over. So what happens when the script flips? That's the big question. Will Europe adjust to a world where it doesn't always get to call the shots? Or will it dig in its heels and try to hang on to the old way of doing things? Here's one thing that's becoming more and more clear. Africa isn't asking for equal treatment anymore. It's saying, we're taking it. Now let's talk about how folks are reacting. When Morocco floated the idea that Europeans might need visas to visit, the reaction in Europe was basically, wait, what? For years, travelling to Africa was easy for Europeans. No paperwork, no stress. Just hop on a plane and land in a warm country full of beaches, spices and sunshine. So the idea that this could change? That came as a real surprise. At first, people brushed it off. Some European voices on the news called it political theatre. Just talk, nothing serious. They figured Morocco wouldn't actually go through with it, especially since tourism brings in so much money from Europe. But then the idea didn't go away. It grew, it spread, and suddenly people started wondering, what if Morocco does go through with this? That's when the worry kicked in. European travellers started asking questions online. Will this affect my next trip? How much will a visa cost? Do I need to show hotel bookings? What if I've been visiting Morocco for years? Will I get a pass? For many, the biggest shock wasn't just the paperwork. It was the idea that they might not be automatically welcomed, that they'd have to wait in lines, submit documents, and maybe even get denied. It felt strange, uncomfortable, like something they'd never really imagined happening to them. But underneath all those questions and comments, there was something deeper. It wasn't just about the hassle of a visa, it was the feeling that a power shift was happening, one that couldn't be ignored. One of the loudest complaints about Morocco's new visa idea goes something like this. Won't this hurt Morocco more than it hurts Europe? The worry that fewer Europeans will visit. And since tourism is a big part of Morocco's economy, some people think adding visa rules could scare those travellers away. At first glance, that might seem like a solid point, but if you look closer, there's something off about it. It's based on an old belief, one that assumes African countries should always keep their doors wide open to European tourists, no matter what. Like the only way to succeed is by pleasing Western visitors. But Morocco isn't stuck in the past. It's not the same country it was decades ago. It's growing, changing, and looking beyond Europe. These days, travellers are coming from all over: China, the Middle East, other African countries. Morocco is building new connections, welcoming new visitors, and not putting all its eggs in one European basket. So the idea that Morocco is totally dependent on tourists from Europe, that's just not true anymore. It comes from a mindset that still sees Africa as a place built to serve European interests, where the beaches, culture, and history exist mainly for European enjoyment. But Morocco's not playing that game. This move isn't just about numbers or tourist dollars. It's about standing up and saying, if you make things hard for us, we can do the same for you. It's about fairness. Now here's where things get really interesting. When Africans face strict visa rules from Europe, when they're rejected, charged high fees, or asked to jump through endless hoops, it barely makes a headline. That's just how it is. But the moment a European might need a visa to visit Morocco, suddenly it's a crisis. That's not just unfair, it's hypocritical. For years, it's been incredibly tough for Africans to travel freely to Europe. The system feels like a maze, costly, confusing, and full of dead ends. And yet, when a tiny bit of that same energy is reflected back at European travellers, the complaints come fast. There's a pattern here, and it's not new. Way back during colonial times, European powers moved into African countries freely, setting up businesses, claiming land and doing as they pleased. But Africans, they weren't allowed to move freely, not even within their own continent. And somehow that mindset has lingered. Even the words people use today show it. A European living in Africa is called an expat, like they're a fancy international guest, but when an African goes to Europe, they're a migrant, a refugee, or even a problem. For a long time, Europe has had a go-to excuse for making it hard for Africans to visit. They've said things like, we need to protect our borders, or it's about keeping the economy stable, or we have to manage migration. That's been their shield, no matter how unfair the rules felt to everyone else. But now what happens if African countries start saying the same thing? Imagine Morocco or Senegal saying, why? Hey, we've got to protect our economy too. We can't just let people come in without knowing who they are or what they want. What if Namibia says, we care about national security too, so yes, Europeans will now need to apply for a visa, just like everyone else? Would those reasons still sound okay to Europe? Or would it suddenly feel like something was being taken away? The nervous buzz around Europe isn't really about Morocco alone. It's about what might come next. Morocco is simply the first one to say it out loud. But it's not alone. Senegal is thinking about it. Namibia already did it. And other countries across Africa are quietly watching and maybe asking, should we do the same? For European governments, this is uncomfortable. They've spent years making the visa process harder and harder for African travellers. And they've always had a ready explanation. It's for our own good. But now the tables are turning. If African nations begin using the same rules, the very people who wrote the original playbook may have to play by it. That's what's really shaking things up. Because what Morocco has done is hold up a mirror, and the reflection Europe sees isn't easy to look at. The idea that Europe could always move freely across Africa while Africans were stuck behind visa walls, that idea is cracking. And now comes the real question. Will Europe adjust to this new world, or try to cling to the old one? Let's take a closer look at this idea of visa reciprocity. It sounds fancy, but it's pretty simple. If your country makes it hard for mine to visit, then my country can do the same to yours. Seems fair, right? But when it comes to Africa, Europe has never liked that idea. Instead, they've expected African countries to smile and wave as European travellers walked right through customs, no questions asked. The usual excuse. Europe is a major trade partner. You need us. But real partnerships don't work one way. If it's truly about cooperation, then the rules should go both ways. What Morocco is doing now is asking the question European leaders have spent years avoiding. Why should our people jump through hoops to get into your countries, while yours waltz in like VIP guests? That's what's turning heads. Because if this visa requirement becomes real, Europeans will get a taste of what millions of Africans have gone through for decades, filling out forms, paying big fees, waiting weeks for an answer, sometimes getting rejected for no clear reason. For the first time, European travellers may feel what it's like to be on the outside looking in. And maybe, just maybe, they'll realise how broken the system has been all along. But that's not even the biggest change. The real shift: Europe no longer controls the story. They don't get to decide who sets the rules. They now have to listen, maybe even compromise, and that's new territory. It's not just about travellers getting frustrated. It's about Europe being forced to admit something it never wanted to say out loud, that the visa system they've defended for so long might be built on shaky ground. Now, what happens when African countries start saying, we're doing this to protect our security and economy, the exact same words Europe has always used? Suddenly it's not so easy to argue back, because if Europe pushes back too hard, it risks revealing the double standard it's been holding on to all this time. The truth is, some people in Europe have gotten used to being treated like the world's preferred guests. They want open doors, red carpets, and no questions asked. But the world is changing, and that dream might be slipping away. So, what do you think? Is Morocco leading the way or stepping out of line? Should other countries do the same? Or is this just the start of something bigger? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And here's a question no one's really answering. Can Europe actually stop Morocco? If you enjoyed this video and would love to watch more videos like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button.